and then all the way up to where you were now, how are you going to handle not being on the field?
Well, that's a great question. I would tell you that I hadn't had time to think about it. We've been hair on fire, a lot to do. We've done a lot of things from technology standpoint. So there has not been a quiet time where I've got the opportunity to sit and reflect. But I'm sure on September 3rd, when the crew walks out on the grass and I'm sitting in the command center, that it may hit me then. But really, this is my dream job. This is the job I wanted. I felt like I had a few good years left on the field, but I think there's a lot I can offer here. So I'm so excited, and we've been so busy I hadn't had a chance to think about it. I would tell you my wife, she's pretty upset about it, but we'll get beyond that.
Mr. Shaw, can you go over the new rules that maybe they're going to be doing this year in SEC that they haven't had before?
So talk a little bit about the new rules. Probably the first thing that everybody's going to see is unsportsmanlike conduct and the changes around that. So the foul itself has not changed. So what is an unsportsmanlike act does not change at all. So there'll be no difference there. But the big difference is how we enforce that penalty. Unsportsmanlike conduct now, if it occurs in the field of play, it's a live ball foul. So what that means is, let's say a player's on a breakaway for a touchdown, and he begins to taunt an opponent at the 10-yard line as he's running in. The marker will go down at the 10-yard line. It will not be a touchdown. We'll penalize from the 10, back them up to the 25, and it'll be their ball there. If it occurs in the end zone, it'll be just like last year. Either the penalty will be enforced on the extra point or the kickoff. But if it occurs in the field of play, it'll be penalized from there. I think that's probably going to be the biggest change that everybody notices and sees. But there are a number of other things. The coaches now in the press box will have a TV monitor, and I think the intent there is to be able to look at plays to see if they want to challenge. So they won't have any editing or rewind capability. It'll be strictly the TV feed that they'll have. And then there's a number of changes beyond that. There's a 10-second runoff that we'll have this year, where if a team commits a foul inside of a minute of either half while the clock's running, and that foul causes the clock to stop, then there will actually be a 10-second subtraction from the clock. So if the penalty occurred at 45 seconds, we'll put it to 35. The team will well, I know there's a lot of people talking about the impact and pushing that to there, but yes, that was part of it. But the thing that will be most notable, so let's say that foul occurs where there's 9 seconds left in the game. If we have a 10-second subtraction, that ball game will be over. And then I'll just mention a couple other, the intentional grounding, a little subtle change in there, but it'll make a difference. So no changes if the quarterback's outside the tackle box, he can throw it away as long as he gets it across the line of scrimmage. But if he's in the pocket, the rule previously said that he had to have an eligible receiver with a reasonable opportunity to catch the ball. Those words are changed now. He just has to have a receiver in the area. So he doesn't necessarily have to have a reasonable opportunity. So the play would be, he's got a blocking back that's blocking somebody that really had, if he dumped it at his back, he had no reasonable opportunity to catch it. Now he's in the area. So that gives the quarterback another way to ground the ball.
Are y'all going to focus on the head-to-head contacts, concussions, is that going to be something y'all want to emphasize this year?
Well, that is still, from the NCAA perspective, a point of emphasis. And, really what you'll notice, subtle change again, but the vernacular, you won't hear our officials announce helmet-to-helmet contact. In football game, there's helmet-to-helmet contact every play. I mean, you think about the offensive line, defensive line, they're helmet-to-helmet. There's time when the player goes in, fullback goes up the middle. But what we're looking at is where you have a defenseless player, contact above the shoulders. That's going to be a point of emphasis. And then also a situation where a player uses the crown of his helmet, to hit or punish an opponent. That will be a continued point of emphasis. So that's where you're going to see it. So it's not just helmet-to-helmet contact. It's in these situations, but that will clearly continue a point of emphasis, and that's really for the safety of the players.
Will you miss those sideline discussions with coaches, and which coach will you really miss being on the sideline with them again?
Well, no, I won't miss those sideline discussions. However, I think in my new role, there'll probably be Sunday discussions. So we'll see how that goes. And really, the relationship that I've had with the coaches, I think that's an advantage coming from where I was. I know our coaches. I've had a relationship. We've been through good days, bad days, and those sort of things. And but as we've been working together, I think we know one another, and that'll be an advantage in the position that I'm in. And but I'm kind of like a head coach that hadn't lost a game. We hadn't missed a call yet, so they all love me right now today.
What have the officials been told using discretion and taking a a touchdown off the board on unsportsmanlike call?
So as I mentioned, there's no difference in the foul itself. I mean, what an unsportsmanlike act is. Now, we've had a lot of discussion. That's probably from a fan's perspective, the most controversial of all calls. And we don't want to be overly technical on that. There's going to be exuberance, and we understand that. What we really want to get are the things that are, taunting or demeaning to an opponent or the fans, or showboating, or really trying to call attention to yourself, really making a mockery of the game. If you felt like he worked on this in his dorm room, is probably worthy of a foul, but you don't want to get overly technical. And so we're not going to ease up on it, but again, something that's quick and just part of a normal celebration and with teammates, we want to give latitude around that.
So a defensive lineman, 295, recovers a fumble, runs it back and dives into the end zone. Is he penalized?
So diving into the end zone is one of those things, and we've watched a lot of video. We've watched a lot of video with the coaches. We did that in our spring meeting. So if you're clearly on a breakaway and no player has an opportunity to get near you, and you dive or flip into the end zone, that's a foul. And the difference this year is, and we've shown this video. Let's say you turn the big flip into the end zone. If you plant your feet on the 2 and you take that big flip, that foul is going to be enforced from the 2-yard line. But if there's any question as where there's pursuit that would have any opportunity to make a play on the player, we're going to give them the dive. We're probably not going to give them the big flip, but we'll give them the dive. And that becomes a little bit of judgment, but my goal, and we've started this, we've watched a lot of film. We want this foul. We don't want this one. Our goal is to be consistent with it, and I think that's what the fans want as well.
Steve, does that remain judgment, or like if you can't tell if the celebration started at the 1 or at the goal, you know what I'm saying? I mean, do you look at the video for that to see, or is that just the judgment of the official?
Yeah, that component of it is not reviewable. The spot of the foul is not reviewable, and it will be the judgment of the official. And our rule is that if you're not sure if it was in the field of play or in the end zone, then it's going to be in the end zone. But if you're sure, I mean, and like I said, we've watched enough video where like flips into the end zone, there is always a launching point. And when you go back and watch video, you will see it time and time again. He will plant his feet, and that's the spot of the foul. So it's judgment, but our guys are tuned to be looking for that.
Like you said, that you watch video, your officials are seeing, the coaches are seeing. Will the coaches have access to show those same examples to players so that they don't commit those fouls?
Absolutely, and we have an NCAA video as well that the players look at. I mean, and I think to me that's the biggest thing. If the players are educated, then hopefully that helps them understand what is a foul and what is not. But I will tell you this: my goal is to have our guys watching film and know what's a foul, what we want, and what is not. But I will say this, and these players are very creative. And, we don't have film on everything they're going to do. And I'll use an example from last year. There was an NFL game. You probably remember it. Excuse me. There was a receiver who was on a breakaway to score a touchdown. And it was very, very late in the game. And he made a really headsy play. He was going to score a touchdown easy, but he said, hey, I need to burn some clock. We don't want to kick off to these guys. So he ran all the way across the field, burned clock. Clock ran out. He goes into the end zone. Really headsy play. Well, then in our bowl season, in a game early in the first quarter, guys on a breakaway, he gets to about the 3-yard line, same type action, he runs all the way across the field. Well, why do you think he's doing that? You think he's taunting the opponent, he's calling attention to himself, all those type things. So that's a new thing, we've never seen it, but that's a foul. And now we've seen it, we've got it on video, we're aware of it, but like I said, these guys are creative, they're thinking of things we haven't seen yet, and so there'll always be an element of judgment there. But that's where if we stick to our principles, don't be overly technical, get the things that are demeaning or taunting or make a mockery of the game, then we'll be as consistent as possible.
So the list of examples could expand as the season goes on.
Well, it could.
Not get away with it.
Yeah. Well, we hope our official, when you see something for the first time, if you use those list of tests on it, we should get it right the first time. But if not, yeah, we'll begin to have video that we could use.
Fans earlier, how important is transparency and education? Did you hear the conspiracy stuff all, every Saturday? How important is that?
I think it's very important. And I think that's one of the challenges that over time that I will really face is how we become more transparent. We're going to start this year with a couple of vignettes on the SEC Digital Network. It'll be preseason, really talking to the fans about rule changes and mechanics around officiating. I know sometimes that could be a little geeky and what officials do, but fans really have a lot of questions and want to see this and want to hear from us on that. So we're going to start down that path, and our desire is to be as transparent as we can be, but protect the conference, the teams, the players, and the officials. But the fans are asking for it, and so that's going to be something we grow and learn into.
Players and coaches have to react post-game. Is there ever a thought of officials being available to press post-game?
Well, in certain bowl games now, we do have situations where we have a pool reporter and the officials are made available. During our regular season, if you ever watch right after the game, some people kid, it looks like the officials are running for their lives, but hopefully they're not. They're really getting back to the van because one of the things, probably the most important session we have with the officials for that whole week is our post-game review. So they're getting the officials out of there back to the hotel so they can get set up and ready. That hour and a half in that post-game is probably the biggest learning opportunity that we have during that week. So unfortunately, our procedures right now in a regular season game don't allow that, but I think it's something that we'll always think about and consider.
Can you go over the fitness test and fans may be interested in knowing exactly what the officials are required physically to go through in the summer to be ready for the fall practice?
Yeah, another great question. In fact, our officials are all are all going to be in town starting today. We've got our 3-day fall camp coming up, and our physical fitness requirements are pretty significant. So we will actually take them. They'll have a 1.5 mile run that they have to do on a certain time, and then right after the 1.5 mile run, where they're somewhat I won't call it tired. They better not be tired, but you've had a stress. Then they'll do a 5-10-5, and we have some little torture agility drills we put them through. But it's really, conditioning has become a year-round thing. It's not just to get ready for the season. I'm expecting that, demanding that of these guys. And even though we have some big guys, you're going to see physically fit officials. And I would tell you, I think the old stereotype of the big fat referee is gone. And as you watch our guys throughout the season, I think you're going to see physically fit guys. Again, you're going to have an umpire that played defensive line that's just a big guy by nature, but our guys are getting more and more fit each year, and you have to. The speed of the game, the intensity, you can't have physical conditioning as a limiter to you. So we're excited. I know they're all excited about doing their 1.5 mile and 5-10-5, getting ready to go. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. Look forward to a great season.